All right, new NBA show here on the Earnestly Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Ernest. EJ Chris, recording this at literally 10 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning, June 22nd, 2026. If I look exhausted, you're right, I am exhausted. But we pressed on. Of course, joined here every week by my co-host, Greg Hrinya, NBA analyst, author. My man, Greg, what's going on, brother? How's your weekend?
Not much. It was good. Short, but it was good.
Yeah, man.
I should mention you. Happy Father's Day. So
thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. It was good. I mean, I didn't really do much. I mean, we're gonna celebrate tonight because my wife, she works doubles on Sundays, so it didn't work out. But she asked, "We want to go dinner tonight?" Like, yeah. And plus, honestly, I prefer to go, like, even with Valentine's Day too. Also, we do things around it, not on it, because it's easier to go to restaurants. Easier, I don't need to be celebrating the day of. As long as we acknowledge it, we acknowledge the holidays or whatever you want to call it, it's fine with me. I can go day after, day before. I don't give a damn. So, but yeah, I haven't got last time I got a lot of sleep, to be honest with you. So, I'm feeling a little bit, but like I said, we press on with the show. We are now officially in the middle of NBA off season now. Lots to talk about today. We'll talk about off season in a second. The NBA draft's coming up in a couple of days. I got a Tom Thibodeau story for you want to share with you real quick. And then also I want to touch on with you a little bit. I may do an episode on this on the Retro Run podcast, Basketball Retro podcast, where we discussed the 20th anniversary of Miami Heat's first NBA championship. I want to get your feelings on that real quick and some things that unpacking out of there. But first, the world right now in the NBA, all we're talking about is Giannis. Where he's going to go, where the hell's going to go, who knows? It sounds like it's a two-team race. Like, basically, it's Miami and Boston. Now, Miami was pretty much the only team we saw earmarked for the last month or so. The Boston things kind of came in the last minute, in the last week or two, whatever you want to call that. But things are heating up now. As this morning, Mark Stein reported that Boston's making a late push now, and they're offering Jaylen Brown for Giannis in a swap and whatever pieces they decide on there. Right now, the alleged package on the Miami end is Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Khalil Ware, Nikola Jovic, possibly your boy Jonas, of course, or even Pell Larson, plus the number 13 picks on the table. I heard other rumors also that the Detroit Pistons are involved in a possible 3-team deal, which Hero goes to Detroit, which I think for them, for the record, if that deal plays out where he goes to Detroit, that's a win for the Pistons, for the record. They need a ball creator and a shooter badly. You discussed that in this podcast all year long. So this is where we are as right now. I was praying to God. I texted you last night from the bed, like Greg. I was like, dude, let's hope this deal gets done before airtime. Clearly not happening, bro. Unless we get a report in the next hour or so while we're recording. No. So your thoughts on the Giannis story? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect anything to get done until the last minute, because even if it's just for optics from Milwaukee's standpoint, like if they make the trade 2 weeks before the draft, how does that look for them? They want to make it seem like they exhausted every possible option and took the best possible deal that was available for them. As you mentioned, there's two potential teams. I mean, for the longest time, I just figured it would be Miami. But as we've discussed, does it really make sense for Miami to get rid of 8 assets for one guy, and then you pair him with Bam, and then what are you left with? So, I mean, I think that in theory, it's a cleaner trade with Boston. But,
right.
I don't know what's real and what's just being put out there from Milwaukee's end for leverage. So, I mean, how real is the Boston interest, or is it being over dramatized because they are trying to extract every possible asset from Miami, knowing that Miami has wanted him the most for the longest amount of time? So, I mean, that's the kind of things that we don't know, but we do know that he'd probably be open to extending in both places. I think that the team would be better in Boston with that deal, because if you have Jason Tatum, Derek White, Giannis, and then whomever else they keep, let's say they have Pritchard, for example, as a fourth guy, that's pretty good. In Miami, I don't know what that's ultimately going to look like. There was talks of does Milwaukee want to unload other salary. So, I mean, do they want to get rid of Portis? Do they want to get rid of Kuzma? And then if that's the case in Miami, then you have to add in Wiggins to the deal too. And then it's like,
Yeah.
now you're really up against it. And what are you left with?
Yeah.
Obviously, Miami needs to do something, but I don't know what they're going to be left with after this deal. And if
Right.
and also like one thing that we never really know is like, has Jaylen Brown requested a trade? I mean, just because stuff doesn't become public doesn't mean that he wouldn't prefer to play elsewhere. Because we got those inklings right after the season ended, or Boston's season ended, that he might want his own team. He might not be happy there. He kept saying this was the happiest that he's ever been playing basketball with Jason Tatum not there. So, I mean, do they look at that and maybe just because they didn't run the show?
Well, he said on record for years, even before he won a title, that before his extension, that he was not really a fan of the city of Boston because of the history and personal reasons. Obviously, like, I'm not saying it has nothing to do with the Celtics and the team, how they run the team, but he has said on record that he had issues with Boston, the city itself, prior to his extension. Now, obviously, you can't turn down the money he got because at the time it was the biggest contract in history in the NBA. So you take the money when you can. But I said this on a podcast with you last week, and I think you agree with me. I said I think Boston is intrigued by the idea of trading him for two reasons. Number one, his comments at the end of the year, was certainly a little divisive, saying this is his best year of his career in his opinion. But number two, also, his value is the highest it's ever going to be. He's right now the second highest player in the NBA. If there's a way to sell high, now is the time to do it for Jaylen Brown. But at the same time, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is arguably the greatest tandem we've seen in this league in the last 10 years, honestly. There's a conversation for that as well, too, also. So why would you want to break that up? I don't know. I still feel like the Boston angle is actually more of a way to extract stuff out of Miami. I think you also said the same things as well last week, and you probably still feel the same way now. But I'm also curious, too, that there might be a quiet third team involved. I'm very intrigued by that. I know Giannis has said that, well, reportedly has said that he'd rather play on the East. But I am not stupid to think that a team like Golden State might be working behind the scenes here, or a team like, I don't know, maybe one of those title teams, those contenders in the West. I mean, maybe Minnesota might want to make some moves. I don't know. You told OKC last night to shed some salary. Who knows? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I don't know where their frame of mind is at. But I'm curious. The two teams alone, honest, for a guy of his caliber, even though he is what we believe a descending player, I'm not sold that there isn't a third or even a fourth team that is trying to at least get in these sweepstakes for a guy like Giannis.
Well, if Miami makes a deal, there's going to have to be other teams involved, because I don't know that Milwaukee is going to want all those players. They're going to want to, hopefully turn those other players into picks. So, I mean, everything you hear rumored is if they can turn Tyler Hero into the 21st pick and you walk out of this draft with 10, 13, 21, if you're Milwaukee, that's pretty good. I mean, you have three picks in the top 21 of the draft. So, I mean, that's a good starting point for a guy who, and we talked about it last week, like, he's going to be a free agent after this upcoming season. So, I mean, I don't know that they have as much leverage as they think they have. I mean, if I were Miami and you hear the reports like, it's not our problem how you build your team after you acquire Giannis, it'd be like, okay, then keep him and have him walk and get nothing after the upcoming season. That's your option too. So, it's interesting from that standpoint, but I think that with Boston, there's a lot of things that Milwaukee, I think, would like about that. One, from again, I keep talking about optics. Like, if you're trading Giannis,
I love that word, optics. I get made fun of all the time on this podcast saying the word optics, but I love that you love that word too.
If you're trading your franchise superstar, the guy who's put your team on the map, for these last 10 years, and one of the greatest players in your franchise history.
Yeah.
To just get back a poo-poo platter of stuff isn't as appetizing as, let's say, if they can go to the media and say, we got Jaylen Brown, we got a guy who was top 5 in MVP voting, who was an all-pro, who's won a championship. Like, it's like when Portland made the Dame trade with Milwaukee. They could say, oh, we got Drew Holiday out of this deal, and we got picks out of this deal. So it's like, we have Drew Holiday that we can point to as a guy that everybody knows as like a big piece, as opposed to just
certainly helped Boston that year.
I mean, as opposed to just saying Nikola Jovic and Tyler Hero, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, I feel like there's an optics play here where they can say to Shams when he's reporting it, hey, Jaylen Brown is one of the best players in this league last year, and they turned the guy whose contract was expiring and who's always hurt into that. Now, I don't think that Milwaukee would keep Jaylen Brown. I think they'd probably try and flip him to
mainly because he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, a Houston or an Atlanta or a New Orleans, one of those teams, and then you're again looking to get 3 or 4 picks, and and then you're doing the same dance where what you were trying to extract out of Miami, you're now trying to extract from a different team, but for different assets. So I mean, do you go to Atlanta and say we want the 8th pick along with, Dyson Daniels and Reese Shea and 3 future picks or something like that? Again, I don't know. But my impression is that Jaylen Brown, just from everything that he said and the way that he behaved this year, not in a bad way, just that he wants to.
There's little things, little weird, little.
Yeah, he wants to run his own team. Like those breadcrumbs that have been put out there. It's like he wants his team to lead, and it's always going to be Tatum's team in Boston. And so he got a taste of that. And so I feel like, again, maybe behind the scenes, there's, his agent could have gone to them.
Can we talk real quick, though? Because I had a conversation with my brother last night about this. Him and I always talk shit about basketball. He comes on the podcast once in a while. The Tatum Brown thing. Like, we agree is probably the best 10 in the last 10 years, right? We agree? Definitely top 2? Okay. I accepted for years that Tatum was the better player. But is he really the better player of the 2 guys? Like, if he really, like right now, if I'm going forward, if I'm Boston, like I know who's probably more marketable based on the fact that Tatum he fits in. He doesn't shake things up. He's very quiet, very demure, versus Jaylen Brown, who's not a bad guy, just a little more chattier and a little more expressive than probably ownership would like him to be, of course. But at the end of the day, one guy is coming off a massive surgery and a major injury. The other guy, that same year, ended up having one of the better years we've seen in a long time in the MVP conversation. And I don't know, man. Like, there's an argument right now that Jaylen Brown might be actually a better player than Jason Tatum right now, in my opinion. And I don't know if here's how we had my brother Eric frame it last night, and I love how he did this. He doesn't see what Jaylen Brown did last year without Tatum. He doesn't see Jason Tatum doing the same thing. If Brown got hurt, for example, let's say the roles were reversed here, okay? Jaylen Brown was the one that got hurt, and Tatum had to run the team last year on his own. He thinks it's more likely that Tatum would fail to have the same amount of wins in comparison to Jaylen Brown. And I thought about that. I was like, it's hard to tell because you have to see it, but given the kind of player Jaylen Brown is versus Jason Tatum, I can't rule that out. So there's an argument right now that Jaylen Brown might be the better player, not Jason Tatum. But there's also other things that go into these decisions, into like how teams build their team, like how teams build their rosters, not just on the court, but certainly how they market themselves. And Tatum obviously is a marketable player because he stays quiet, doesn't say a word. So, what are your thoughts on that?
True, but I mean, going forward, it would be Tatum and Giannis, so we won't have to figure out what it would be like with Tatum trying to run his own team.
But in your opinion, who's a better fit? Do you think? Okay, I think honestly, basketball-wise, better fit might be Brown and Giannis, not Tatum and Giannis, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tatum is seen as the better 3-point shooter, the better scorer. So, and also he's 6'9", 6'10", so you're basically pairing 2 like pretty huge guys together. One can play outside, one can play inside. I mean, I do get your point. I mean, Jaylen Brown is, if there's a 1A, he's 1B. Like, he's not a 2. Like, he's every bit the equal of Tatum.
Okay. Do you agree with that?
It's a tough thing to say just because they're both great players. It's just that I don't know that I ever thought of Jaylen Brown as like a pure scorer. the way that I've thought of Tatum. Although when Tatum came back last year, he struggled shooting the ball mightily, but I don't know that
His injury,
that's
rust.
because he was coming back from the long layoff. I don't know that that's any great surprise. No training camp, probably not many practices, just working out with the G League team and then being thrown back into basically a playoff like atmosphere. So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and I should note too that we do have breaking news on this
Oh no,
show.
I added it.
Oh, okay.
We'll end the show with that. I added breaking news. I know exactly. I added it to the doc. We'll surprise the folks in a second on the show.
Okay.
Can I defend the Miami Heat's position here, and not necessarily the Miami Heat, the team, but Heat fans as a whole. And I'm not saying this is my position. This is actually most Heat fans that I talk to, that I see on the internet, that basically the vibe here in Miami. They don't care at this point whether or not it extracts. Getting Giannis extracts pieces. They don't care. They're frustrated. They're tired of the play-in. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. Like, if Pat Riley spoke to these Heat fans day to day about how they feel, they don't give a shit because they are just done with the play-in situation. Even when they were going to the finals, they were still in the play-in. They're done with it now. They'd rather go after a star while descending and take a shot at there and go and run with that. And whether it fails or not, it's fine. Do something. They want something done. If it means that they go up to Giannis, who's a sitting player, and give up some assets, so be it. And every Heat fan I speak to, for the most part, has said that. Me, I'm a little more diplomatic. I'm more worried about. I'm less worried about Giannis coming here, and more about how much it will take to get him. That part, the latter part, is what I'm more concerned about. But most Heat fans don't give a shit. Just make a fucking deal. Other than Bam, everybody can go. So yeah. I'm not saying it's logical. In fact, I'll tell you, I agree with you. It's not logical. It's not smart. But at the same time, though, when you've been in this kind of like this mediocrity muddle for the last 5-6 years now, who gives a shit? Go for broke.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see those trades ever really working out. I mean, it's very rare that they work. I mean, like the Anthony Davis trade worked for the Lakers. But I mean, it's few and far between. I mean, I guess you could say Mikal Bridges worked for the Knicks, but I mean, again, he wasn't like the main guy.
Yeah.
I feel like anytime you look at a guy north of 30, and also Bridges was not north of 30. I mean, he's 5 years younger when that trade was made.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're giving up it's not just for this trade, but it's like you don't really have any flexibility then to move in the future. So it's like your team is Bam and Giannis and Powell, maybe Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, and then if every other guy is gone, like yes, they can scrap together depth. I'm sure they can find some undrafted.
They've been, and for the record, they've been good about that for years now. One of the things that the Heat have done very well with building assets from the G League, from the draft. They are probably the best team in the NBA, no lie, when it comes to like actually developing talent.
Sure, like. You look at Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, etc. I mean, you can go on.
Kendrick Nunn for a while before he got traded, and
Duncan Robinson. They turned into a success story. Like, they've had success doing it, but then also conversely, you look at it from Milwaukee's standpoint, and they're like, how good is Pelle Larsson? How good is Jakob Jonas? Are they just guys who would be good in Miami but wouldn't be good anywhere else? So I mean,
because of Spoelstra,
yeah. So I mean, those are questions that I'm sure that Milwaukee is asking, but
that's the Heat fans' position on this. Is that they at this point? I got a text from my boy Brian this morning. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Just make this trade happen. Give up what we gotta give up. Other than Bam, you can give it to everybody else. I don't give a shit. I'm just done being a 9 and 10 seed every single freaking year. And honestly, I can see the argument. Like I would rather do business and do things the right way and try to keep as much as we can to get here, but at the same time, I get the frustration. We haven't had a real star here since LeBron and Dwayne retired, and then obviously Jimmy Butler was good for a couple of years, but that thing and crashed and burned. I get it. I totally get the frustration now. I totally get it.
Yeah, and there's not really any other star that we know of that's on the market. I mean, like, I don't know. Do you look at John Morant or Trae Young or like I don't look at guys like that as like moving the needle. Like Giannis moves the needle if he's healthy. But I mean, I don't know that there's like a pivot point where they're like, okay, we're off on Giannis, or let's say the Celtics do get him. Where do they go from there after that? So I can see why fans want them to just throw caution to the wind and be like, do whatever it takes.
It's possible Miami will probably end up being very aggressive with getting other name value stars around them because, like, if you're going to go with Giannis, and you guys spoke about this for the last year or two now, windows. The
Yeah.
window, Giannis win is only 2 or 3 years if you're getting Giannis right now. So you have to go for broke. You have to go. They're gonna have to go into the second apron to get another star probably to pair with Giannis most likely. So having said that, I expect if Miami is going to make this deal, and depending on how things transpire with who they give up, whatever, they're going to be very aggressive in getting probably another big name player because they have to stay on the gas because it's a win now scenario every year because you have a 2-3 window to make this work. Otherwise, what are we doing?
Yeah, but what assets do they have left to make that deal after they get Giannis? That's the question. Like,
Right, exactly. And fans don't understand that part either.
If your thinking is, okay, we'll flip Wiggins for Kawhi Leonard, like, okay, like the Clippers want assets out of that, and if Jonas is gone and all your picks are gone, what is enticing to them about
this is what makes NBA today complicated now because you and I agree. Free agency is over pretty much. Free agency is not this, like the way we saw free agency for like 10 years ago. It is that those days are, at least for the near future, is over because assets that are valuable are locked up. So if you're getting big assets, you're giving up stuff to get something. There's no more of this stuff free market. Grab LeBron 2010 scenario. That's over now, at least for the foreseeable future. So fans have to also be very patient. It's very complicated how to do this now because it's a risk. It's a big risk here, especially again with Giannis being a descending player.
I mean, star players, like you look at Giannis, I mean, with Milwaukee, he's going to be eligible for a 4-year, $275 million deal.
There's that part too.
You're telling me that he's going to risk that deal and risk, he's been hurt the last 4 years, basically. Mm-hmm. He's not going to take that deal and he's going to go into free agency with no security. I mean, what if he pops his Achilles, which we've thought he almost did numerous times over the past couple of years? So, I mean, it just wouldn't be smart from his standpoint to not extend, even if he wants to ask for a trade later. But that's why free agency is pretty much, it's basically like mid-level guys and lower level guys because the stars are all going to take the guaranteed money when it's there for them, which just makes sense.
Right. Well, like I said, by the time we come back here next week and have this podcast, this deal should be done. I say hopefully he's in a Heat uniform just because at this point I do want to see that happening. I just don't want to give up too much to get him. That's what I'm afraid of more than anything else. Another team that no one's talking about really, I want to touch on real quick. That's trying to add significant depth to the roster. The Timberwolves, another team who's been going to conference finals last couple of years, knocked out second round playoffs last year. Despite having back-to-back playoff runs, they are ready to shake things up. Minnesota's actively shopping Julius Randle apparently now, and has checked in on a potential deal for Derek White, another Boston Celtic. The Wolves are desperate for guard and wing depth, especially with Dante DiVincenzo expected to miss significant time next year with his injury. Meanwhile, Minnesota's told teams that Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels remain strictly off limits. I think Minnesota's a big wild card this summer because they are one of those teams where we look at OKC and San Antonio as the big dogs, of course. And in the East, obviously New York and Boston and Cleveland, whatever you want to call it. I think Minnesota's one of those teams right in that mix to also do that. If they make a big move to pair with Anthony Edwards, that's a team that can get back in the conversation of beating San Antonio and OKC. Your thoughts on Minnesota? Do they make the big move, you think?
I mean, I think they make a mid-level move. I think they probably, they could be a team for a John Morant, a De'Aaron Fox, something like that. But I mean, I don't know that Julius Randle is all that appealing. I mean, he's an expiring contract essentially. So I mean,
it's attractive to some degree.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, could a team like San Antonio, looking to get Harper in the starting lineup, and if they want to move off of Fox, yeah, I could see Julius Randle's expiring being enticing to them just because it's a financial situation. But I don't see, an injured DiVincenzo and Randle netting you much unless you're throwing draft picks in there, and they really don't have draft picks to trade. I think they're gonna have their 2033 first. That's it. They just don't have even if you look at Boston, Miami, they've got 3-4 firsts that they can move around. Minnesota just doesn't have that flexibility. So, I mean, I could see them trying to be active. I get that the worry for them is going to be that Edwards is going to get frustrated at some point. I mean, you saw a report yesterday that Luka Doncic expects the Lakers to be really active because it's been a year and a half and they haven't made any significant moves. And it's like these star players get very impatient and they want
And
help
that's the
around
part,
them.
and that's the main story here. It's not even so much about Minnesota overhauling the core rather. It's keeping Anthony Edwards satiable.
Yeah.
Because in a world where we discussed it, free agents doesn't exist now. A guy like Pat Riley, if he starts seeing that, okay, let's say they don't go after Giannis. Let's say they don't. Maybe they do get Giannis. Who cares? But let's say next year the Timberwolves go to the playoffs again, same core, and they're out in the first round or second round again. Only worse first round. What's Edwards' behavior at that point? Okay, I'm in Minnesota. I'm freezing my ass off. I want something different now. If you're Pat Riley, that's a target.
True, although I would say that there are teams that have way better packages to offer
Right,
him.
right. I'm just saying as an example, but any team that has want to add another star,
Yeah.
There you go. There's your bidding war. So that's why if you're Miami and any other team in this position now, they're trying to build, to get Giannis, be very careful because that's another star. That's probably the next whale that could be on the move if things don't play out the way they want in the next year or two.
It's going to be hard for Minnesota when they basically say our two best tradable assets that teams would want, we're not trading. They're clearly not trading Edwards, but it's like McDaniels is the guy that you could, like, if you wanted to get in the Giannis sweepstakes, like he's the guy that gets you there. Like Naz Reid's the guy that gets you there. I could see them not wanting to make that move because of the uncertainty of Giannis staying and all that sort of stuff. But like the guys they don't want to part with are the guys that other teams would want. So if you're not parting with them, you're not getting players.
Right.
Unless, like I mentioned, you're getting John Morant, who's a distressed asset, or you're getting De'Aaron Fox because San Antonio is looking to move off of him. Or, like there has to be a situation there where like there's financials involved. Like you're not getting a star player if you're not willing to part with anything.
Right. So something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying anything's gonna happen, but again, at least they're trying to build around Edwards and keep him happy because, like I said, I think that's the next major star that could ask out if things don't play out the way he wants to next year or two. So something to think about. All right, as you mentioned earlier, NBA draft is this Thursday. I'll just ask you a quick, man. What to look forward to? Like I think we all know number one, number two, Devontae and Peterson 1 and 2, where maybe. Do you see any surprises happening in the draft this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a top 4. So, I mean, I don't know that Darren Peterson's even going to go 2. I mean.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could have Cameron Boozer go 2. I mean, you look at these guys, those 4 guys are going to go in some order. So, AJ Devonta, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, and Caleb Wilson in any order. Like, that's what, if you go to, the sports books, that's what you're betting on, the order of those first 4 picks. There's not going to be any surprises there, and I don't even see any surprise in terms of teams trading around because it's such a clear top 4. I don't see any one of those teams trading back, even if it's for some massive haul. But with Darren Peterson, there's a lot of questions about him that just don't exist with Devonta and with Cameron Boozer. And to a lesser extent, Caleb Wilson. I think that a team would be more likely to gamble on Peterson than Wilson just because of his size, his skill set. I mean, he's a 6'5" shooting guard. I mean, he came into college, came into Kansas being compared to Kobe Bryant. Now, obviously, he had a very rough year at Kansas, but the talent, the measurables, the shooting, like that stuff is all still there. So, I mean, I think it's more of a risk. That's why I see Devonta going 1 to Washington, just because I think that, Peterson's got the highest ceiling probably of any of those 4 players, but he's also got the lowest floor. So I think Devonta you look at and you say, okay, he's 6'9", he's 6'10", he's a freak athlete, great teammate, can shoot from anywhere. I mean, I wouldn't say his 3-point shot is great, but they'll probably hope that he develops that. But he's got like that little mid-range elbow shot. Super athletic, can defend, good teammate. I mean, from all the games that I watched, I mean, he was super into it with his guys. I mean, the question with Peterson was he asked out of numerous games, mysteriously didn't play in a couple games. They blamed it on, using creatine and how it reacted with his muscles and all that. And it's like, maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I have no idea. But I just feel like there's a question mark with him or a red flag with him that maybe Washington wants to take the safer player, and that's maybe why Utah would be more inclined to take Boozer at 2, just because
Mm-hmm.
it's safer. Like Boozer to me is not like a sexy player. He's always going to put up like 20 and 10, but maybe you're not going to be like super impressed by how, like you're not going to watch the game and be like, oh, he's dominating the game. But at the end of the day, he's going to wind up with numbers that impress you. The best comp that I've heard for Boozer was Kevin Love, and I think that's a pretty good comparison.
Any chance any of these title contenders like OKC, San Antonio, do they make a chance, take a chance in this trade into the top 4? Do you think that it's possible that it could happen?
I mean, I think to trade into the top 4, you'd have like whether you're OKC, whether you're the Nets, who's at 6. OKC obviously has 12 and 17. To get into the top 4, you're probably talking about trading like 5 picks. If you're OKC, you've got to trade 12 and 17 plus salary, plus a player, maybe AJ Mitchell, 12, 17, even if
are these players worth it? If you're OKC, for example, I'm glad you mentioned OKC because you just lost San Antonio this year. Is it worth it? Are these players worth giving up the 4 and 4 in this draft?
I mean, I guess
in your opinion,
in my opinion, it depends on the team. Like if I were OKC, I would say no, because I feel like they've already got the talent there to win a title. They just weren't healthy. If you're a team like the Nets, who's starting from nothing, or if you're a team like Sacramento or Charlotte, who's looking to break in, I mean, I could see it being more valuable because now you're putting a guy who's more on your timeline in the mix. But I just think OKC is so close to contending. I don't know why you'd blow up all your future assets.
I agree.
Plus, I think the guy that makes sense for them really is the center from Michigan, Mara, because you're looking at guys who can guard Wemby. But he's more likely to go probably at like between 8 and 10. He's a top 10 pick, but I would say
so maybe trade up to get him. If he's sitting there between 8 and 10, he have a chance maybe make a move for that.
And at that point, you could probably just swap 12 and 17 for 9, let's say. Like maybe Dallas wants to add a few picks, to go with a young coach. They might want a couple young players, that sort of thing.
If they go up that guy, that means Hartenstein's done in OKC, most likely.
Well, I mean, he might be done anyway, just from a financial standpoint. When you pay Shea a max deal, Chet a max deal, Jalen Williams a max deal. The only reason you pay those guys max deals is because you have all these draft picks and you have all these guys under cost control going deep into the future. So, I mean, you have Thomas Sorber, who we didn't even see last year, on a rookie deal. You've got AJ Mitchell, who's signed to, I think he signed like a 3-year, $12 million contract or something ridiculously low. And then you've got all these draft picks. So, I mean, those guys will be on rookie deals. So you can afford to have 3 superstars or guys making 3 max deals when you've got all these picks, when you've got all these assets. That's why I think they've always kind of been ruled out for a guy like Giannis, because it's like, once you'd have to trade one of those 3 guys, and then it also affects your depth and what you're giving up and all that.
Exactly. That's why I was always against the idea of doing it in the first place.
It's complicated for them with the way their salary is structured, unless they want to move off of one of those guys. But I don't see them moving off of Chet, even though it was a nightmarish series for him against.
Yeah, but I think people again. You said it like a couple weeks ago when after this was over. That's less about Chet and more about it's a Wemby problem. It's not a Chet problem.
Yeah.
It's a Wemby. So stop. Let's not act like this guy was almost a 13 million NBA this year. Come on now.
And also, I don't see any team panicking after one series. Like, I wouldn't. Like if I were another team looking at De'Aaron Fox, I wouldn't say, oh, he had a rough NBA Finals. I wouldn't want him on my team. Like I think he still has value out there.
It's like saying, oh, great, let's trade Patrick Ewing because we couldn't stop Michael Jordan. It's stupid. You can't stop the best player in basketball. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I mean,
the issue with Chet was that he just didn't, again, like I said after that series, I'm like, I think if he was like Caruso and shot 3 for 14, 3 for 15, you'd rather see that than him not even trying. So, I mean, I think that was more the concern than the actual result.
Right.
But yes, that is a product of Wembanyama. But unfortunately, every year going forward, you're going to have to go through Wembanyama. So, I mean, those are decisions that they'll have to make. But you're not trading some Godfather Hall to get in the top 4 to take Mara.
And his reality, there's no one in the league better than Wembanyama. So like, you're not getting someone to be better than Wembanyama at all. So like, what are we doing here? Like,
No,
we have logical thinking here. One thing else.
Yeah, you're just looking for someone to slow him down, just to make it difficult. Yeah. So,
is that a reason why you try to keep Hartenstein a little longer? You on a sweetheart deal, if possible?
I mean,
like, what is the market anyway? Is he spending a lot of money elsewhere?
It's not about what he can make elsewhere. It's just that he's, got like a $27 million salary cap hit in OKC, which again, with 3 max contracts, that makes the team very expensive. And they can certainly pay to keep, they can go into the second apron if they want, but do they want, for teams, is it too punitive to do that? And is that something that they're willing to do? Again, the fact that they drafted Thomas Sorber last year, they might look at it and say, let's draft another center, and hopefully one of these 2 guys on rookie deals, or both of them, if we draft well, can make up for the production that we're losing with Hartenstein. Again, it's what he's making versus what a rookie is going to make.
Okay, then I'll ask you then, Greg, Sam, Presti, Hrinya. if you're the Thunder and knowing where you're at now as a team, and knowing that you're trying to get past San Antonio, it's only one hurdle. Do you take a shot on Hartenstein another year and just eat the cost and try it one more time, or do you?
I think ultimately they're going to move him.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, no. What would you do?
I would go into the tax and keep him, and that's why I traded Aaron Wiggins yesterday, because the whole goal of moving some of those ancillary pieces, if you can move an Isaiah Joe, you moved an Aaron Wiggins, if you can do the salary cap maneuvers to make that work, that's fine. But you still have so many guys on very cheap deals and rookie deals, and you'll have another guy on a rookie deal.
I love how owners think like winning is cheap. Like, it's hard to win. It's hard to stay winning. You have to pay money.
But in the NBA, it's also like when you go in the second apron, that becomes punitive in terms of, okay, you can't sign buyout guys. Your first round pick gets moved to the end of the first round. There's penalties to that. Yeah. And a guy like Sam Presti, I feel like, has, made his name with the draft, and he's not going to want to sacrifice future, he's not going to want to sacrifice anything that's going to impact his ability to draft going forward, because that's where he has an advantage over most of these teams.
And it's the thing, it's what we're saying, like right now in this league today, and where we're going now, with the salaries, all that, and the cap and the aprons, all that, windows are small. Yeah. We're going to probably see more parity. I think the Spurs might be the only team that might have a chance of being a repeat champion. But other than that, we're going to see a new champion next year, I guarantee you. And it's a very good chance we're going to see another champion the year after that, just because of the way the league is structured right now. Whether or not you believe it's good or bad for the league, I don't know. But, I saw a comment about, I have the video right here. I was going to play it on the show, but I'll save it next week. That Vince Goodwill said something about to the effect of, parity is bad. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? We heard complaining for years, especially during the aughts, about the Warriors every year, Warriors and Cavs 4 years straight. And then the Heat and Spurs for 2 years straight. Stop. People want parity. People want to have a chance to win. So, that bad take by Vincent Goodwill there, by the way. And if I find it before I go for the air, I'll play it on the show.
And even if they don't want parity, they don't want what Golden State was doing. They don't want a team that won 73 games to then get the second best player in the league, right, and then not have, people want to watch competition.
Right.
Whether you're watching golf yesterday or whether you're watching NBA basketball, you don't want to see one guy or one team run away with everything. You want to be entertained. You want to see competition.
I was very shocked that he said that, because he's a very smart guy, Vincent Goodwill. Very smart guy. That comment was that had been a hot take. I'm on ESPN. Let's just get some attention, because that was a bad take by Vincent Goodwill last week, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that, I'm sure, is producers saying we need one guy to take one position, one guy to take another.
Yeah, so stupid, bro.
It's hard to know in many cases what guys really believe. So it's that could have just been drummed up for TV drama.
Right. Speaking of championships in the Knicks, there's a report recently came out that Tom Thibodeau is still feeling kind of hurt by being dismissed by the team last year. Of course, it hurts more and more now that you helped build that team from what it was to what it is, and then basically it's the whole Tony Dungy, John Gruden thing. Like I built the team, new coach comes in next year, and this takes a team, same exact team, to the title. I get it. I still say it was the right move by New York. I don't think they win this title with Tom Thibodeau as head coach because again, his philosophy does not work. Like Mike Brown's philosophy didn't work. Tom Thibodeau is very stubborn, So I understand why he's hurt by that, but at the end of the day, it was still the right choice. He was the reason why this Knicks team can get over the hump because of his philosophy. Your thoughts?
And for an NBA comparison, Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr in Golden State.
There you go. Right.
It's a similar sort of thing. I mean, there is zero chance, that the Knicks win a title with him as the coach. That's just the reality because they needed Jose Alvarado. They needed Jordan Clarkson. They needed Ariel Hukporti. I mean, again, Hukporti and Clarkson in much smaller roles.
They don't see a court Tom Thibodeau as head coach.
Yeah, they need a Landry Shamet. Like none of those guys. I mean, I made this joke on the podcast last year when Thibodeau was still a coach. Like if Landry Shamet has a bad game, he might not see the floor again for 2 weeks. And that was the reality of it because there was a game in December of 24 where Mikal Bridges played 45, 46 minutes in a December game against the Charlotte Hornets, who were a bad team at that point. Like he wasn't flexible. He didn't get his bench involved. And you could see the way that the Spurs ran out of gas and the Knicks didn't because they were involving multiple guys. And also they don't come back in game 4 from 29 down without Alvarado. There was a strategic reason that they put him, a guy who had been out of the rotation at times, even in the playoffs, in the game, because they wanted him to muck up the game and speed up the Spurs offense because they needed more possessions. So they wanted him, picking up 94 feet and running around after guards. And, there was a method to that. And with Thibodeau, he would have just run out his starting 5 for the entire fourth quarter. His solution would have been to go back to the starters sooner. It wouldn't have been, let me see what Clarkson can give me. Let me see what Alvarado can give me. They got contributions from guys up and down the lineup that Thibodeau never would have.
Shamet played a huge role. And I think was it game 4 or game 5 too also.
Throughout the entire playoffs. I mean, you go through the Philadelphia series, the Cleveland series. I mean, he's one of the best shooters in the playoffs.
Yeah, Tom doesn't even get that out of him because he's not even seeing the courts. So, exactly. I understand he's hurt, but still, it ain't happening.
Yeah, and I mean, I will give Thibodeau credit that because he played his guys so many minutes, I think that he did prepare them, like their stars, to absorb that workload. And I think that to his credit, they were the better conditioned team than San Antonio. Like that would be his lasting impact for the Knicks. So, he gets some credit there, but rotation wise, and also the offense that Mike Brown ran, like Tibbs was never running the offense through Towns the way that the Knicks did for long stretches in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, it's they needed a new guy to get him over the hump, and thankfully for them, they found him.
Yeah. Also, the breaking news you were going to say earlier, the Mavericks hired Dusty May as head coach. Literally within the last 20 minutes. Dusty May, of course, is the head coach of the national champion Michigan Wolverines team. I'm a little shocked that this late in the game that he decides to leave Michigan and do this. I mean, that came out of nowhere. Was his name even in the circulation of coaches?
No, not that I was aware of. I mean, that's pretty surprising. And now it makes you wonder if with the 9th pick or with, if let's say they're the team that trades back with Oklahoma City, do they try and put a couple of Michigan guys on his roster? So that'll be interesting because, I mean, Michigan's got not only Mara, whom I discussed, going, top 10, like late in the top 10. You have Yaxel Landenborg. He's around that range too, 10 to 12, the swingman. You have Merez Johnson as well. So, I mean, you have 3 guys right there who are going to go in the top 15 to 20 picks. So you wonder if maybe that plays any role. Not that they hired him so that they could take Michigan guys, but I mean, they wanted a young coach to grow with a young team. And, I mean, Cooper Flagg, you have a young star there. I mean, it just indicates the direction that they're going in. Like they're planning to be a young team and maybe be that next team. It makes you wonder, like, is Kyrie a guy that would make sense for a team like Minnesota with Anthony Edwards? Yeah. Because, like, does Kyrie want to stay?
Are you Miami?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you're getting Giannis, go for broke. Get Kyrie. You know,
Yeah.
because
Or even if,
I sorry now, Miami needs a point guard.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
even if Giannis goes to Boston, I mean, I would still, if I were Miami, then try and pivot to Kyrie. I mean, I look at Dallas and it's like you can see what they're doing. They're trying to assemble young talent, and it makes sense that they're going with a coach who can grow with their team. And I mean, there's been a long track record. Billy Donovan, going down the list of guys. I mean, there's been a track record of guys who have, you know, John Beeline and guys like that who have tried and failed. But it's also a good track record of guys who have made the switch. So,
yeah.
so I mean, we'll see. But it was an interesting hire for sure.
It was definitely out of nowhere. I didn't hear nothing of the old about him in the mix. None of that stuff. I'm a little shocked at there. But hey, kudos to the Mavericks. One more thing we got here. I want to bring this up because this happened like 2 days ago. But 2 days ago was the 20th anniversary of the Miami Heat winning the first NBA championship. And the reason I want to bring it up to you is this, because I had a conversation with my buddy Joshua Jacobs on the podcast last Sunday, and he kind of just brought it out of nowhere. Because I remember, being a Heat fan for 38 years for myself. One reason why the Heat mean a lot to me more than any team in sports is because I've seen everything. I've seen all the firsts. It's different when you're a fan. It's one thing when you're a fan of a team that you let's say the Giants, for example. I've been a Giant fan 30-something years as well, but they've existed for almost 100. You know what I'm saying? So they've done things and stuff before I got here. But when you're a fan of a team that everything of the franchise happened under your eyeballs, when you were invested. Like the first time they ever made the playoffs, the first time we had a winning season, the first ever division title. It hits differently when you have those things under your belt. Like it's different. So obviously when they won the title 20 years ago, it was a big deal for me. I cried like a little baby because it was such a great moment for me going through all this, this fanhood for as long as I did. Having said that, though, my buddy Josh brought it up on the show, and I can't dismiss what he said here. He said that that 2006 Heat team is arguably, if not the worst champion we've seen in modern history in the league. And I thought about that. I was like, I can't dismiss this. You go through let's look at the last 20 years alone. What team that won a title the last 20 years are they better than, really? Like, clearly. And I honestly, we look at all the things that the team went through that year, especially too, because there was a lot of instability. Remember, that was the year that Stan Van Gundy got pushed aside by Pat Riley, and Riley came in there after 9 games it was. And there was a lot of push and pull in that team. That team was a makeshift team of veterans and a couple young guys. Yeah, Dwayne Wade obviously was the young star, but you had older Shaq, older Zoe, old and Antoine Walker, and so you look at it from that way. I have a hard time disagreeing because most NBA champions we've seen, certainly in the last 20 or 30 years, are teams that were earmarked to win those titles, or at least in the conversation. This Heat team, while it was good, on paper was good, it was not guaranteed to win a title, though, because of the team was the makeup of the team. So I have a hard time telling him that it's a bad take, because I actually think it's a good take, honestly. And I said as a Heat fan. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they had Wade, they had Shaq. I mean, it's not like you're going to wax poetic in the history of the league about that being one of the great title teams. But I mean, you don't have to apologize for winning a title. Like, I mean, this Knicks team, odds are they won't win another title, but that's not going to make this one any less special. So, right. I mean, yeah, was it a dominant team? No, but it doesn't need to have LeBron and Wade and Bosh, or LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love. It doesn't to be a memorable team or to make you feel a certain way. And I can see why you would appreciate that as someone who, like you said, has been there from the ground up and seen the whole thing get built. But yeah, I would say there's a lot of better champions throughout the years. When you go through the Lakers teams or the Spurs teams, or you name it. But even the Heat teams that had LeBron on them. But I mean, that still doesn't make it any less special.
The take is not bad because how bad they fell off the very next year. So they win the title in 06. Then 07, they lose in the first round to Chicago. got swept by the Bulls. Okay, same exact team in place. Okay, for the record, so they fell off precipitously right after they won a title. So that makes it take even more concise in a sense. Like I've always said that the 05 team that lost to Detroit in 7 games was better than the 06 team. And granted, 06 team had more name value, but the name value was by guys who were on the back end of their careers. So you were in a win now scenario. It's like the 97 Marlins. You bring all these big name players on the end of the prime or out the prime just to win right now. That was the 06 team. Like if I look honestly, it doesn't sound crazy to say this. That if the 26th Knicks played the 06 Heat, that's a 7-game series in my opinion. You know, that's 7-game series in my opinion because Shaq was already starting to decline heavily by 06. You know what I'm saying? In fact, Zoe played a lot of big minutes in that series against Dallas for Shaq because Shaq couldn't move in the same way. Yeah. So, like I said, it's not a bad take. So, like, I'm not saying I would take the Knicks this year over the Heat team, but it's pretty darn close. And there aren't really other teams I look in the last 30 years that are worse than in my opinion. So, I think there's an argument that might really be the worst title team based on the context you use it for in comparison to what we've seen in the last 30, 40 years, honestly.
Yeah, I guess that's certainly possible. Granted, it's always hard to compare eras, and if this team were to play that team, or if the 2019 Raptors were to play the Heat, I mean, it's hard to make those comparisons. But yeah,
right. I mean, that's one. 2019 might be one, but I mean, you're getting peak Kawhi with healthy, and maybe I don't know. That could be something. I mean, but
I mean, the only reason I thought of that one was because if Golden State's healthy, Toronto's
right. So. Correct. You got to think of random teams. That Toronto's kind of random in a sense because honestly, they weren't even favorite to the finals that year. It was Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So that was Giannis MVP year number 1. So, but damn, a long time ago, huh? But yeah, that's my position on that. So anyway, Greg, good job as always, bro. We'll see you next week on the show. I don't know why I keep asking you this when you want to plug. It's a habit I have with people on my show. You have nothing to plug.
Yeah,
this your book you've had for years. You still haven't.
Nothing to plug. I'll just.
Would you write another book?
Probably not. I mean, I would need access to write another book, and since I'm not like affiliated with a team now, or I'm not covering a team.
Do you miss that? Do you miss having access to teams?
A little bit, but I mean, I enjoy my job and my life now, so I mean, I have no complaints. But it was fun to do for a while.
Right. All right. Follow Greg on X at Hrinya 2.
NBA 2
on X. So I'm on X Vulture Egypt 7. The NBA show. Until next episode, we will talk to you guys soon and enjoy NBA draft night. And this Giannis thing should be done by the time we come back here next week. So all right, later.
Go Heat, bitch.